ओके सो आज के वीडियो में हम लोग डिस्कस करने वाले हैं अबाउट अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑर्डर फ्लो। ओके, काफ़ी लोग को ये कंफ्यूजन आता है कि हाउ टू नो कि हम लोग किस ट्रेंड में, राइट, इन विच ट्रेंड वी आर राइट नाउ, आर वी इन बुलिश और बेयरिश। ओके, सो of course there are so many ways to understand are we in bullish trend or bearish trend. Okay, but we don't need anything more than fair value gap. Okay, by only using fair value gap or imbalance, whatever you want to say, by only knowing fair value gap you can understand are we in bullish order flow or bearish order flow. Okay, that means are we in bullish trend or bearish trend. Okay, of course, till now you guys have learned about market structure, right? High, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and once this higher low break, market structures shift to downtrend, right, from the uptrend. Okay, but you will see this thing not work that good. Okay, if you going to understand daily and weekly order flow. But of course, when we're going to talk about entry, we're going to use this market structure as well. Okay, but to understand daily and weekly order flow, where daily can print, where weekly can print, or where daily can go, weekly can go, basically we can only use fair value gap, and with the help of fair value gap we can easily anticipate everything. Okay, with the help of fair value gap and with the help of inverted fair value gap. Okay, and of course this market structure thing we're going to talk about later in entry model when we're going to discuss about entry. But I hope you guys know about this basic market structure, what is higher high, what is higher low, right? So see, the thing is key, if you're going to trade, if you understand fair value gap and inverted fair value gap, then this video will properly make sense to you. If you guys don't know about inverted fair value gap, if you don't know about fair value gap, then of course you're going to struggle. Okay, and the thing is, one more thing I want to say here. Basically, the fair value gap is everything for us. Okay, fair value gap give you the bias, right? If for example market tapping daily fair value gap, daily bullish fair value gap, it gives you bias, right? Ki the next daily candle can print bullish or we have to look for the bullish move. So it gives you the bias, right? Inverted fair value gap gives you also the direction, right? If daily bullish fair value gap didn't hold and closed below the bullish fair value gap, that's giving a sign that that level is not holding. And only by using this two you can understand order flow. Okay, so for example, let's say market was trading something like this. Okay, let's say for example, and let's say this is daily or weekly. You can apply this on daily or weekly, you can apply on lower time frame as well. But if you want to understand the order flow where trend is shifting, better to stick with daily and weekly. Then once you understand daily and weekly order flow where market can go, you can look for entry on lower time frame H4, H1, M15. Okay, and of course in upcoming class, as I said, we will discuss about entry model. Okay, so let's say here we created, for example, daily fair value gap here. Okay, so let's say here we created daily fair value gap, and let's say we have one more daily fair value gap here in this price leg. Okay, so let's say price move from this low to this high, and we have created two bullish fair value gap. And let's say the trend and let's say structure was also looking a bullish. Okay, we don't have any bearish fair value gap here from where we can look for sell. So basically the structure is bullish, and we can see we have created bullish fair value gap, bullish fair value gap. So we know if market will tap this fair value gap, we can look for bullish setup from this internal, right? We discussed in the last video. So it can be your daily internal level, right? So we can look for the bullish move if price will hold this level. Okay, and how we know this level is going to hold? By using lower time frame entry model confirmation. And of course, as I said again, I'll be repeating, we will discuss about entry model, which level we have to look for the lower time frame. Of course we will discuss. Okay, I'm just giving you guys overview right now. Okay, so let's say if market will hold this, of course we're going to look for long at this fair value gap. but let's say market didn't hold this level, market created low, and let's say we created here inverted fair value gap, for example. Okay, and before this, okay, so one more thing I want to say, whenever price print, okay, whenever price print, let's say it's formed from, it's created leg from this low to this high, okay, we have to understand basically the defense level. What I mean defense level. So here you can see we have this first fair value gap as a first line of defense, right? So you can see this is the first fair value gap. So this is our first line of defense. And let's say we have here second fair value gap. So this is going to be our last line of defense basically, right? So we have two defense area from where market can hold. So if we not respected this fair value gap, okay, if this defense failed, what will be our next level where we can hold basically this one, right? So this is going to be our last line of defense. So this is our first line of defense, upper one, right? Because ये ऊपर है, so that's why it's first, whereas में नीचे होगा definitely. So this is our first line of defense. Let's say market didn't hold this fair value gap and we're trading lower. So what will be our last line of defense for the bullish setup? So if market have to be bullish and if market retrace all the way down to here to the last line of defense in this bullish fair value gap, if it will hold, we can look for long, and let's say market also didn't hold this last line of defense and trade it more lower. That means our first line of defense and last line of defense basically not holding. Okay, so our first line of defense and last line of defense, the bullish level is not holding, so maybe now we can shift the structure basically because the daily fair value gap is not holding. Okay, so I hope what is first line of defense, last line of defense is clear. Sometime you will see in short form people say flawed and LOD. Basically flawed stands for first line of defense, okay, and this stand for last line of defense. Okay, so don't get confused when I'll say some tricky word like flawed and LOD. Okay, so if we understand our defense level, okay, and once we understand, okay, this defense is not holding, this defense is not holding on daily, so maybe on daily the order flow is shifting basically, right? So from the bullish structure, from the bullish level, we can shift to the bearish structure basically, right? We can shift to the downside. Okay, so I hope till now it clear. Okay, and if you have any question, of course, let me know so I can help you. अगर यहाँ तक समझ में नहीं आया हो तो okay. Now let's say for example, this is the price swing. Okay, let's say this is the price swing from this low to the this high, and of course, guys, you can apply this on opposite side as well. Okay, so whenever you guys taking note, just draw the opposite example as well. Okay, so थोड़ा time consume, थोड़ा time बचाने के लिए I am teaching only this illustration example. Okay, but of course in example we see both direction, but illustration के लिए मैं सिर्फ ये बता रहा हूँ bullish for example. Okay, so let's say price again created from this low to this high, and let's say this is right now daily time frame. Okay, so let's say only we have this one daily fair value gap, for example. Okay, let's say we have only one daily fair value gap here. Okay, and let's say market was trading. So this is our first line of defense. Okay, and right now we don't have any last line of defense, for example. Okay, let's say we have only this first line of defense here. Okay, and we don't have any fair value gap on daily, we don't have any fair value gap here, but let's say we have fair value gap at this area, maybe on weekly fair value gap. Okay, so maybe we have this here weekly bullish fair value gap, so this daily fair value gap is going to be our first line of defense, right? So if market tap this and if it hold, we can look for long here. Okay, but if let's say market didn't hold this daily fair value gap, the first line of defense, market अगर hold नहीं कर रहा है and market traded lower and created, let's say, this as an inverted fair value gap. Okay, so we know the first line of defense fail हो चुका है and our last line of defense for the bullish setup is this level, right? So if market will trade to this weekly fair value gap, we can look for bullish setup. But if let's say this weekly fair value gap also didn't hold and created inverted fair value gap, that means जो first line defense था वो होल्ड नहीं किया, सेकंड लाइन ऑफ डिफेंस भी होल्ड नहीं किया, दैट मीन्स कि वी कैन शिफ्ट to the downside basically, okay? And same applies on the opposite side, okay? So I hope till now it's clear. So let's see some example here, okay? Okay, guys, so let's say right now I'm on weekly time frame, okay, for example, okay, and let's say you can see price move from this low to this high, and here you can see anything from this low to this high. You can see we have this weekly bullish fair value gap, right? We have this weekly bullish fair value gap, right? So this is my first line of defense, right? And we don't have any fair value gap on weekly. We don't have any fair value gap on weekly. You can see we have only this fair value gap. So we know if we have to look for long, we can look for long at this weekly fair value gap. And let's say if this defense area, okay, if this level will not hold and the candle create lower, that will become inverted fair value gap. That means key maybe in weekly we shifting the trend basically, right? And we can see some bearish momentum, okay? So here you can see we tapped, okay, but when candle closed bearish and created this as an inverted fair value gap. So I know now we not holding this weekly fair value gap, we created inverted fair value gap. So we can go to daily time frame, okay, and if we have any daily bearish fair value gap, let's say we have created this daily bearish fair value gap here, okay. If we have this daily bearish fair value gap, so I know the weekly order flow we had from this low to this high is not respecting the defense area, right? So maybe trend can shift on weekly. We don't need and everything, okay, पूरा ये zoom out करके ये पूरा देखने की जरूरत नहीं कि क्या हुआ है, okay? क्योंकि कोई काम का ही नहीं है ये सब ना. You not investing for in you are not investing in Euro USD for 15-20 years, right? You doing trading, okay? Even if you're doing swing trading, you don't need all the data from back here to 2006, okay? You just have to understand the current leg, what level is holding, what level is not holding, okay? So इसको delete करते हैं हम लोग. Okay, so let's say we created this weekly inverted fair value gap. So once we created this weekly inverted fair value gap, for example, so we understand the weekly level is not holding. Okay, weekly bullish order flow is shifting because this candle created bearish. So we can go to daily time frame. Maybe if we formed, let's say here you can see daily bearish fair value gap we formed here, right? So we can look for sell at this daily bearish fair value gap to continue price lower. Okay, so that's how you can identify basically trend. Okay, and if you see one more thing I want to show, you can see here we have this weekly bullish fair value gap. Okay, so एक बार वापस से हम लोग replay use करते हैं. Okay, so let's say we have this weekly bullish fair value gap and let's check daily time frame as well. So you can see on daily we don't have any fair value gap. You can see price from low to this high. We don't have any fair value gap. Even we don't have any high probability order block. Okay, you can see we have this down close candle, but this down close candle is not coming from any fair value gap, right? So this is not our high probability order block, right? So I understand we have only one defense here from this swing to this swing. We have only one weekly fair value gap as a defense. So if it will not hold on weekly, once weekly candle close below, so that means trend is shifting basically, right, on weekly. And then you can frame on daily, and you can see on daily we created fair value gap and you can look for sell at that level, right? So I hope ये clear है how to understand the order flow, okay? Because this is a very basic question I get from very long time I'm getting this question, how to identify trend. So that's why I decided to discuss this. And let me show you some few example so you can understand in more depth basically. And also, for example, if you see the current structure as well, okay, so let's say price move from this high to this low, okay, you can see we have this daily bearish value gap here, right? And ये जो मैं अभी order flow के बारे में समझा रहा हूँ ना, you will understand more with experience, okay? जैसे जैसे आप मार्केट में टाइम बिताते जाओगे, the more time you will spend, the more experience you will get basically, okay? And the more it becomes easy for you. So don't think after watching one video you will master everything, okay? It is going to take time. It is going to take time to read the market, okay? So don't think it will be in one click in one video. Okay, with experience, anything you're learning right now, either it's order block, fair value gap, inverted fair value gap, anything internal to external or anything, you will master it with experience basically. Okay, so here you can see we have this daily bearish fair value gap. Of course, once when market has जब मार्केट ये फेयर वैल्यू गैप टैप किया होगा बेरिश वैल्यू गैप, so we would be looking for the sell setup, but you can see when the weekly candle जब close हुआ, it closed very bullish, right? So that's indicating us what, कि this weekly fair value gap is not getting respected. So trend can be shifting, the order flow can shift basically, so we can go to daily and then we can frame setup. And let's say for example we created this weekly inverted fair value gap. So if market is bullish, okay, so let's say this week closed very bullish and created this weekly inverted fair value gap. So if market is bullish, what it is going to target basically? What do you guys think? What where it is going to target? It is going to target the swing high, right? And you can see we have this swing high here, right? This swing high liquidity. So we can target this swing high because we understand the bearish order flow from this high to this low, we had the bearish order flow, right? When market would, जब भी market ये tap क्या होगा fair value gap, of course we had been looking for the sell setup. Maybe we had taken a loss, okay? Because as you guys know, with your data, not always we're going to win, okay? But we understand, okay, if we have taken let's say one win here, of course in the next trade we can basically make it back, right? Because it's a long-term game. Remember always the video one I shared with you guys, okay? It's all about edge, it's all about the probability game, okay? We never know what is 100% basically, okay? So once it closed, we can target this high because this is our next liquidity as a target because this is a swing high, okay? And you can see the structure is basically the order flow is shifting from bearish to bullish, okay? Then on daily, of course, you can go to daily time frame and you can look for some bullish fair value gap to form, and then you can look for the long setup basically, okay? So that's how you can understand the order flow, okay? Of course, same thing you can apply on the daily time frame also. Okay, so let's say you can see here we respected daily bearish value gap, right? So we traded lower. Okay, so here you can see one good example. Okay, so let's say you're watching daily time frame, okay, and you can see we have this bearish value gap, we have this bearish value gap. So we have two defense area, right? One was this first line of defense and one is this second line of defense, right? So let's say if market will tap this, you're looking for sell, and let's say market will not hold this level. Okay, let's say mark candle, for example, let me draw the candle. Okay, so let's say candle closed something like this. Okay, let's mark this candle green quickly. Okay, and let's say candle closed above this fair value gap. That does not mean trend is shifting from bearish to bullish. Why? Because अभी तक हम लोग सिर्फ first line of defense fail किए, right? We only फेल्ड फर्स्ट लाइन ऑफ डिफेंस. अगर लेट्स से ये कैंडल या सेकंड कैंडल, ये फेयर वैल्यू गैप, ये बेरिश फेयर वैल्यू गैप जो हम लोग का लास्ट लाइन ऑफ डिफेंस है, इसके ऊपर क्लोज होगा, दैट मीन्स कि जो फर्स्ट लाइन ऑफ डिफेंस तो होल्ड नहीं किया, सेकंड लाइन ऑफ डिफेंस भी होल्ड नहीं किया. ओके, ऑफ कोर्स इट शुड इट कैन बी अपकमिंग कैंडल्स आल्सो, मतलब दो तीन कैंडल भी हो सकता है, ऐसा नहीं कि सिर्फ एक ही कैंडल में मार्केट इस टाइप से फॉर्म कर रहा है. ओके, सो आई होप मतलब आप लोग भावना समझ रहे हो, कंसेप्ट समझ रहे हो, ठीक है? सो you can see here we respected this second line of defense. Still the candle body is closing inside the fair value gap, right? Remember always wick do the damage, body tells you the story. Body is closing inside the fair value gap. That means that fair value gap is basically holding the level, okay? And you can see we traded lower, right? And we had this bearish order block, okay? So we respected that as well. Okay, and let's see how price continue. You can see here, for example, let me delete all this thing. So here you can see we have another bearish fair value gap, right? Here we created another bearish fair value gap. Okay, and here you can see we closing strongly. Okay, of course in this candle also we closed. Okay, and sometime you will see it closed above but still a trade lower. Okay, and of course with time, as I said, with experience you will understand which level you should trade, which level you should avoid. With experience you will get. Okay, so here you can see in this candle we closing strongly as compared to this candle. Okay, and you can see then this become what? Inverted fair value gap, right? You can see this bearish fair value gap become inverted fair value gap. So you can see now bearish जो ये हम लोग का ये current leg था, for example this high to this low, we had this fair value gap here, right? So we had only first line of defense in this area, right? And now it's not getting respected. That means the bullish shift, sorry, that means from the bearish shift we can turn to the bullish structure basically, right? I hope it's clear till now. And of course, one more thing I want to say, we can have order block as also as a defense basically. Okay, what I mean. So let's say so let's say this is our basically order block. Okay, this is let's say for example our high probability order block. Okay, let's say ये order block fair value gaps आ रहा है. For example, let's say ये fair value gaps आ रहा है. Okay, just for example. Okay, so let's say this is our high probability order block. We have this bearish fair value gap, okay, and let's say we have one more bearish fair value gap. So here you can see we have three defense basically for the bearish, okay. So we have first line of defense in this area, second line of defense in this area, and third line of defense if we have the order block, the high probability order block that we have discussed. So this will be our third line of defense. Okay. So as market will trade higher and higher, and let's say market create not respecting any fair value gap, so we can look for the bullish move. Okay. And as I said, with experience, with practice, you will understand in much better way. Okay. So and as you guys see me sharing trade breakdown in upcoming time, you will understand in more depth basically. Okay, so if you see the current structure as well, okay, let's say start with weekly time frame. You can see we are right now on the weekly fair value gap. So this is our on weekly we have this first line of defense. You can see on weekly also we have this second line of defense. Okay, so if weekly have to turn bearish, okay, what we want to see? We want to see all these two fair value gap on weekly. Basically, the weekly bearish candle close below this bearish fair value gap, sorry, bullish fair value gap. Once we close below this bullish fair value gap, the last line of defense, then we can anticipate market can turn bearish. Okay, and that's how we have to trade basically. If it hold and if we get any lower time frame confirmation, we can look for the continuation to the upside. If we don't hold, that means we are looking for bearish move. So that's how you can understand the order flow. सो आई होप मैं अच्छे से आप लोग को समझाया हूँ. अगर समझ में नहीं आया हो तो डेफिनेटली यू कैन आस्क मी. एंड अगेन I'll say, even if you don't focus too much on order flow, and if you just only understand internal external internal external external to internal, it's enough. You don't need anything. This is just a little bit advanced, I'll say, to understand the order flow basically. Okay, and of course, if you guys understand internal, external, you will easily understand this as well. Okay, so master internal, external, and before mastering internal, external, understand fair value gap, inverted fair value gap, swing high, swing low, and then internal, external, then this concept. Okay, and again, I'll say with time, you will understand in more easy way basically. Okay, so आज के लिए इतना ही रखते हैं. See you guys on the next video. Take care.